And their transport ship will get a roll at 1 afterwards. That scored a hit as well. Funny dice. We like funny dice sometimes. This is Axis and Allies on the Tool-Less channel. We are playing North Africa with our Mod rule. It is video number 3 and it's likely to be a fairly short video, I think, this time, because we're on turn number 12 with the UK. Turns 12 and 13 will be short enough because we're getting fewer RPs for either side to spend, so probably fewer battles, fewer bits of action to bring to you. And turn number 14, it's likely to end for either power right at the start of their turns, because once they've scored their points, there's not a lot more that they can do. So without padding out with too much of my waffling, let's get on with the UK turn. Before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There's a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare dollar, euro, yen, yak or British pound, you can send to them. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So UK turn 12, the first thing we do is the advanced convoys phase, which is this one guy here, advances to Malta and scores 1 point for the Brits. And the two guys that have made their way, hooray, finally down to Cairo, advance into the Cairo port and they score 2 points for the Brits. So we can go on our tracker up here, 1, 2 and 3 points. The Brits are now in front. So let's look at the requisition reinforcements. With just 28 for the UK, they are purchasing for themselves 1 cruiser, 1 destroyer and 2 more transport ships. They come onto the board at the end of the turn. And we can look at their combat movements now. In terms of how aggressively they want to play this, the UK could go into Sea Zone 10, have a bash at these guys up here, but I think it's probably a better objective for them to play what they've done a couple of times through this turn and just leave blockers in place all over the shop. So instead of doing any combat with most of these units, we're just having combat in one place here, which is these 2 units in Sea Zone 16 versus this guy up here. So for the Brits, they will get themselves 1 at 5 for the cruiser and 1 at 4 for the destroyer. And scored 1 hit at the 5, so that's handy. The reply from the Italian guy is at a 4 in his cruiser and misses entirely. So the Brits have got the best of that Sea Zone 16 eventually. And that would do it for all the combat. We now look at the non-combat movements for the UK. We can take this 1 transport ship, completely free of any kind of harm, we think. 1, 2, 3, 4 into Sea Zone 24, meet up with the aircraft carrier that's been lurking around like a lurky thing who lurks. It can come back, the aircraft carrier that this is, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the Malta convoy zone. We've got quite a heavy presence up in there now with our 1 fajita on board. That is now 3 combat ships that are in there. And we can shove anything else we like in there, which is just going to be 1 cruiser from Sea Zone 3. It can go 4 spaces into there. And the other 2 units that are in Sea Zone 3, big boom battleship and a destroyer, can go into Sea Zone number 8 and block off that route there. Now, we could have gone into Sea Zone 11, we know that, but we're giving a little bit of leeway to the Italians because we're being kind for no reason at all. Let's now look at the reinforcements. It's the 2 transport ships and 2 combat ships going to Sea Zone 3. That is the end of the British turn. They will get to Malta on turn number 13 and can score their points on 14. And this 1 ship down here as well can get into Sea Zone 31 next turn and score points over there. So as the Brits are likely to be 3 more points further on from here, what can Italy do about that? Let me have a little think about it and I'll get back to you in a second. Italy on turn number 12 have got no advanced convoys to make. It's just a requisition reinforcements, and with only 18 RPs to spend, we're going to try to grab some points from somewhere. 2 transport ships cost them 10 plus the 1 destroyer makes 18, and I'm beginning to think I was being a little bit too generous with the Brits by not going into season 11 and blocking this route off entirely and just making a huge, great hampering move. But I've done it now. I was being a bit overly friendly, I think. But Italy are going to be trying to get this transport ship down into 13 and maybe score 1 more point, and we might get something back out of it. But I think really it's all over Red Rover as far as the Italians are concerned. But we've got to roll this out now. We've got our 2 cruisers going into Sea Zone 16. Plus the 1 fajita is going in there too. And just to see if we can bust our way through this time round. We've got 3 dice for the Italians. 2 of them are be at 5s for the cruiser and 1 at 4 for the fighter. And we scored 2 hits out of that. The necessary 2 hits. We can get ourselves through this sea zone. Yep, I was being a little bit too generous. We got 2 dice at 4 in reply for the Brits, because the cruisers defend at 4, and so does the destroyer. And they score 2 hits. Well, I think I think we're going to take it on the 2 cruisers. It's a better choice, I believe, even though they are expensive losses. We can now move our carrier down 4 spaces into Tripoli Sea Zone number 13 with our transport ship, and our plane can be collected flying the floor spaces into there. That is it for the non-com movements, and our reinforcements go onto the board into Sea Zone number 10. That is the end of Italy's, getting the right way around. That's the end of Italy's turn number 11. We'll look at the Brits turn 13 next. The UK on turn number 13 have no advanced convoys, straight for their requisition reinforcements, just 22 RPs available to them this time round. 1 cruiser, 2 submarines, see what they can do. Probably not going to get involved in the action, but we got them anyway. On their combat move and attack declaration, we're declaring our attacks. We are going into here with our 2 planes, 3 planes rather. Our battleship's going to go into there, that's 1 combat vessel. Our cruiser's going into there, 2 combat vessels. We're going to move our 2 destroyers into there, that's our 4 combat units into there. Our carriers have been left in water to pick up those fighter planes afterwards, and as a bit of more protection, we're clearly not going to need it. We're going to move our entire transport combat fleet into convoy zone number 12 afterwards, but let's just get this 1 aggressive battle on the board, and we think we can fend off anything there now. We're feeling very big and brave. So in our attack we have the 3 fighters that will roll in 3 dice at 4s. We're going to have 2 destroyers going in at 4s as well. Then we'll have the battleship and the cruiser going in afterwards. I really can't see Italy getting anything out of this game from now on inwards. And those at 4s have been one of our smashing rolls where everything misses. Oh my giddy aunt. So Italy will score a point. I have been too generous with them. I really have. We got 1 at 6 for the battleship and 1 at 5 from the cruiser. Oh, wouldn't you know your luck sometimes? So we've just scored the 1 hit, and only 1 hit. How did that happen? Man alive, that's annoying when you're being too generous. So that 1 fighter will be lost by the Italians. In reply, their fighter will defend at a 5. We can roll that one out first and score a hit. We'll lose 1 British destroyer. Their aircraft carrier rolls in at a 2, and their transport ship, we're going to roll up 1 afterwards. That scored a hit as well. Funny dice. We like funny dice sometimes. And we got a 1 at 1. Can we get a hat trick out of this? We got a 1 in 10 chance with our transport ship defending itself. It misses. Okay, fair enough. So I once knew a fairy called Nuff. Fair enough. That's the end of the battling in here. Yeah, okay, we've got a naked carrier there, but what else could we have done? That is the end of the combat for the Brits. In their non-combat phase, the fighters will fly back into the convoy zone number 12 and drop our planes onto the carriers in some rough fashion. And our transport ship that's in Sea Zone 24 will advance to Sea Zone 31, ready to score a point next time round. And our more major transport fleet with 2 more point scoring ships and a couple of defenders can go into Sea Zone number 12, ready to score points for the UK afterwards. That is the end of the UK's turn number 13, and we move on to the Italians. We haven't put our reinforcements on. Let me put the reinforcements on. That is the end of turn 13, and we can move on to the Italians. They have got the advanced convoys. They can score 1 point for moving this ship into Tripoli Sea Zone and scoring 1 point, redressing the balance back to 0. That goes over to there. And we can think about their reinforcements. Well, all we've given Italy is 18 points now. Why not just go silly and get 3 submarines from my little stocky pile down here? Because 3 sixes of 18, that's the purchasing for Italy down there. Their combat movement, I really can only see one thing that we can do, which is to move everything from Sea Zone 10 into Sea Zone 13 and see what we can do. The Brits were being overly generous, I'll give you that. But it is me. And I am generous sometimes. So our attack from here is our 1 cruiser, our 1 destroyer that attacks with a 4. We use the darker coloured dice for that. And the aircraft carrier that can attack at a 1, we use the brown dice. We have scored a hit from our destroyer. So as we can take that on the battleship, easy peasy. In reply from that, the Brits will roll a dice at a 6 for the battleship and score a hit, glug glug, and a 5 for their cruiser and score a hit, glug glug. Hits are only applied to the transport ships if they're the last available unit in there. That is the end, apart from putting the reinforcements on the board for Italy, which is their 3 submarines up into Sea Zone number 10. That is the end of Italy number 13. When we look at the final turn of the game, turn number 14, starting off with the UK. Let me just move me bits and pieces around. That's better. Quick reshuffle there. So there is advanced convoys for the Brits. They will score 2 points for these guys in here. They will score 1 point for that guy down in Sea Zone 31. He comes off the board, and we score 3 points up on our register there. If we look at now our combat movements, well, we're going to just try and blow these 2 guys out of the water. And again, we can do it really, really simply. We're going to move 2 more combat vessels into there, and our 3 fighters go in there again. And this time they're going to try and hit something. So let's have a dice tray on the board. We have got, just move things so I can see them clearly myself. We have got 3 fighters plus a destroyer, all going in at 4s, trying to blow these 2 transport ships out of the water. And they have done that. Plenty enough hits. No need to roll any more dice. The 2 transport ships get defensive rolls at 1s and narrowly miss. Really, yeah, we are flogging a dead horse. We have been for maybe a round and a half now, at least. That is the end of the UK's combat. Their non-combat phase would just be to put the guys back onto their aircraft carriers, and I think sensibly we would probably move them out of the way, out of range of the submarines. But there's no real need for that now. These transport ships that scored a point can get themselves down into 24. They can get to Sea Zone 31 later on, but we're at the end of the game. Our 14 turns have been done. That is really it. The UK have won this game by 3 points margin, which is a fairly reasonable position to be in. Let me just turn you over to the other side of the camera and give you my final thoughts. So there you have it. That is North Africa with my mod house rule. As I mentioned at the start of the series, I don't think North Africa requires my mod rule. The mod just adds a little bit of a twist to the thinking when you're playing it in conjunction with North Africa, and gives you a fuller use of what is a very beautiful map. The winning margin there of 3 points, that's a fairly reasonable average to what I found playing most of the time, even though the Brits were being overly generous at the end there. Well, yeah, we were really just teasing the Italians there. We were going to smash them whether they got down to that sea zone or not. So it's just a nice way of finishing off the game. If you've enjoyed this series, you can get the rules off of BGG. They'll be down in their file section. There's a link to them in the first video. I might even get them in the next 2 videos as well if I remember to do that. But that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, be cool.